The true Kamala Harris has finally been exposed, and the US is breathing a collective sigh of relief knowing they chose the right candidate in Donald Trump. CBS was forced to hand over the raw and unedited footage from the Kamala Harris interview they aired during the election campaign as part of the FCC probe into whether the network violated the FCC's news distortion policy. Complaints were filed after it was revealed that 60 Minutes heavily edited the raw footage for their on-air program, which was different to the footage aired on their YouTube and digital channels.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
Well, Bill, the work that we have done has resulted in a number of movements in that region by Israel that were very much prompted by or a result of many things, including our advocacy for what needs to happen in the region.
But it seems that Prime Minister Netanyahu is not listening.
We are not going to stop pursuing what is necessary for the United States to be clear about where we stand on the need for this war to end.
Donald Trump blasted Kamala Harris and CBS at the time, saying, "A giant fake news scam by CBS and 60 Minutes. Her real answer was crazy or dumb, so they actually replaced it with another answer in order to save her or at least make her look better. A fake news scam which is totally illegal. Take away the CBS license." He then sued CBS, demanding $10 billion in damages, alleging deceptive doctoring of the interview. The full interview revealed today has shed more light on the bizarre story, highlighting Kamala Harris's famous word salads.
Of the future, what we can do to maintain America's strength in the global context.
But that's why you want to run. That's why you want to be
That's why I'm
president.
running. That and some other reason.
Harris also scolded a staffer mid-interview.
Anniversary of the Hamas attack on Israel.
October 7th.
So let's just start with
Hang on
Israel.
1 second, Bill.
Yeah.
Sorry, we had someone in the background. I'm afraid you're going to have to re-ask that.
Okay, whoever's in the dining room. It was me. Okay.
There was also a bizarre part at the end of the interview where Kamala Harris was asked to repeat a question, but instead she sat there nodding uncomfortably.
Madam Vice President, thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Bill. Good to be with you.
Oh, can we just get just a little bit of a question, please, so I can get a really short shot?
Yeah.
1 second. Just 1 second. Okay, thank you.
You need me talking?
Yes, sir.
Well, we were talking about how you're going to pay for it, and I mean, I truly do mean it. Your plans are logical, make logical sense. The way Washington works is not logical. So how are you going to convince a divided Congress that what you say, your plans, are something that they should all agree to and provide to the American people when they've shown no inclination to do that up to this point?
Is that what you needed?
Yes, sir. Yes, ma'am. 30 seconds of silence, please, for each time.
And this commentator made a side-by-side comparison of an edited and unedited answer, which shows the true extent of the distortion.
Would you meet with President Vladimir Putin to negotiate a solution to the war in Ukraine?
Not bilaterally without Ukraine. No. Ukraine must have a say in the future of Ukraine.
As president, would you support the effort to expand NATO to include Ukraine?
Those are all issues that we will deal with if and when it arrives at that point. Right now, we are supporting Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russia's unprovoked aggression. Donald Trump, if he were president, Putin would be sitting in Kyiv right now. He talks about, he can end it on day one. You know what that is? It's about surrender.
Would you meet with President Vladimir Putin to negotiate a solution to the war in Ukraine?
Not bilaterally without Ukraine. No. Ukraine must have a say in the future of Ukraine.
How about, as president, would you support the effort to expand NATO to include Ukraine?
Those are all issues that we will deal with if and when it arrives at that point. Right now, we are supporting Ukraine's ability to defend itself against Russia's unprovoked aggression and doing what we can to continue to build and strengthen the alliance around the support for Ukraine's right to be an independent nation, free from having its borders forcefully taken by Russia. And we are going to continue to work closely with our NATO allies to continue to reinforce America's alliance in the context of NATO.
The FCC chairman discussed possible ramifications for CBS after a decision is made on the intention of the editing.
Consequence from that?
Well, look, there'll be the full suite of FCC options that are on the table that apply to any broadcast licensee. We obviously haven't made any decisions, but there's no way that the FCC can adjudicate this claim without getting a copy of the transcript. You know, at the end of the Biden administration, my predecessor summarily dismissed this complaint, but I'm not sure how you can possibly do that without seeing the actual video to see what was the real answer. Was it edited? Was it, edited for clarity and length, which would be fine? Or are there other reasons why the editing took place? So we're going to take a look at that, and we're open-minded as to potential consequences.
Will you...
Online commentators reacted to the unedited footage, with this person saying, "The entire 60 Minutes interview has dropped. This will remind you how lucky America is that this lady did not win. Wow." This person agreed, saying, "I just read and listened to the full unedited Kamala Harris 60 Minutes interview, and I know why they needed to edit it down. It was simply horrible. Total pablum answers, meandering and boring." The footage comes after top podcaster Joe Rogan unleashed on Kamala Harris and her team for peddling lies about her near appearance on his podcast.
Today. I guess it's probably a good time to talk about this. There was a thing that came out recently. There was a book. There was some book about the Kamala Harris campaign where they talked about her getting on this show. And they said a bunch of things that weren't true. They talked to, supposedly talked to like 150 different people about her and, what happened with her coming on the show. I don't know if it's 150. A lot of people. They didn't talk to us, and which is kind of crazy. And which is like, they didn't even ask. But they said things that just weren't true. One of the things they said that weren't true was that we lied about the day that Trump was coming on. No, we just didn't tell you that Trump was coming on. He was already booked a long time ago. This is how it worked. Trump was really easy to book, like super easy. We offered one day. He said yes. That was it. There was no, what are we going to talk about? How long is it going to be? Is it going to be edited? There was nothing. Yeah. What's the waiver? Here, give me that waiver. Sign it. It was so easy. So he was already booked. They never committed to doing the show. So all this talk, there was another thing they said that the reason why they did the Beyonce thing, the Beyonce event in Houston, was so that they could be in Texas to do my show. They never agreed to do the show. None of that.
But despite this continued humiliation, Kamala Harris is still proving to be popular amongst Democrats, according to former Trump senior advisor, Christian Wheaton.
Seeing some incredible polling coming out showing that the Democrats are at the lowest numbers possibly ever. The Republicans are flying. And we've got this talent pool amongst the Republicans. So many young, bright, future presidential candidates. You've got J.D. Vance, Ron DeSantis, Vivek Ramaswamy, Sarah Huckabee Sanders. The list is long. Who is going to be the next future leader of the Democrats? Is it going to be Gavin Newsom? Is there somebody else who's a front runner who could possibly take on the next line of Republicans who seem to be just absolutely going gangbusters?
It's hard to tell. They just elected a new technical leader, Martin, who was the head of the Minnesota Democrat Party. Minnesota, of course, the origin of the vice presidential candidate, Tim Walz, known as Tampon Tim, since he wanted to put, in fact, did put tampons in boys' rooms in school. But then you're right. The sort of real leader would be who is the heir apparent, who's the likely nominee 4 years from now. There's a surprising amount of support among Democrats, it seems, for Kamala Harris as
yes.
Wonderful.
Bring it on.
Gavin Newsom as well with his state on fire, literally. And so the real question to me is whether they can figure out a way to talk to normal Americans, get back to speaking honestly in plain language and talk about economic issues and move away. You know, they're still talking about how they're going to have a delegate who is trans. You know, I'm actually a gay guy, and I really don't like being associated with this alphabet soup or being considered an acronym as opposed to just a person. And I think most Americans, including Americans who would fit in those different groups, just are so sick of the ethnic politics and the identity politics. So if the Democrats, if they can't get away from that, then they're looking at 8 to 12 years in the wilderness.
Mm-hmm.